5 really costly but really common mistakes with the driver. If you've got any of these, you need to address them because they're costing you direction and they're costing you distance as well. Believing that the driver head should move away from the golf ball low and slow could be ruining your drives, both in accuracy but specifically distance. So even when I was a junior golfer, the advice with driver was always keep the driver head low to the ground and slow. Now it makes a lot of sense. It would be easier to get the club moving in the right direction. It's easier to be more accurate in terms of your positions. So in theory, it sounds great, but in practice, it's not. That's not what we see the great drivers of the golf ball do. And the reason it's going to hold you back is because when we look at golfers who do this, we see very, very static with the body. We don't see any shift of pressure. So if you're someone who has the idea that you should be moving the club low and slow, you can often get the club some 3, 4, maybe even 6 feet from the golf ball, and your weight or your pressure hasn't moved at all. That's almost the opposite to what we see from the best players. The best players move their pressure early. I'm going to teach that in a moment. But if your pressure doesn't move early, what's going to happen is it's going to move quite late. And then you can get these big slides off the golf where you're kind of searching for that feeling, I've got to get to that right side. What the great players do is they'll set up, and from the get-go, there's some energy in the swing. They're not thinking low and slow. What they're actually doing is they're using their core, and within the first 5 or 6 feet, they've already shifted pressure to that trail side. You look at some of the great drivers of the golf ball, they even have this little bit of a kind of bump, a lateral bump, which kind of kickstarts their golf swing. So what I'd love you to do is think about moving the club head with your core, a little bit of energy there, and get the pressure to the trail side. Pressure is not weight. I don't want you to be drifting. That's your weight. I want you to be thinking about almost stepping down on that trail side. So as I'm moving that club away, there's some energy there. I'm getting pressure to the trail side early. And guess what? The sequencing is going to be so much better. Great drivers of the golf ball have a lot of width in their backswing. Poor drivers, on the other hand, tend to get quite narrow. So what do we mean by width? Well, really, it's where the hands are relative to you. Now, we pretty much all set up to the golf ball with the same sort of width because our arms are extended away from us. What we'll see from great drivers of the golf ball, the Tigers, the Rorys, the Brysons of this world, is they will use their body quite early and they will maintain a lot of that width. So at this point here, the trail arm, little bit bent, but it's still really extended and really wide. What I often see with golfers who are struggling with the driver, I think it stems from a lack of confidence. And what they'll do is they'll almost think, the more I can lock things down, the more I can keep things still, the less that can go wrong. And the theory is great, you know, the fewer moving parts we have, the easier it's going to be, but the reality doesn't work. So what I'll often see is body doesn't really do a huge amount, arms do too much, and we start to get really narrow. Just look at the difference there compared to the position I showed you a moment ago. So if you're someone who gets really narrow, hands get close to the shoulder, body doesn't turn, this is the drill for you. Simple. Take the golf club, pop it into your belly button, extend your arms down. So left arm is onto the club shaft, right arm is down here. And all I want you to try and do is just really feel and sense what it's like to get that club moving with the body, not with the hands. If I use the hands and arms, that grip is going to come away from me really quickly. You can see there it's not in contact with me. So if I can use the body correctly, look at that. I get that width. The golf club is still in contact with me. Now at some point, as you start to use your wrists, yes, the grip is going to move away, but it's great to get that first part of the golf swing. Now if you think back to the start of the video, we spoke about low and slow and how that wasn't really beneficial. You can do that drill and this drill together. I can keep the width, and also I can really feel as if there's some energy in there. Energy and width, that is a fantastic recipe with a driver. I'm not saying that one again. What does that golf swing look like to you? Would you see that type of golf swing on the TV, DP World or PJs, or probably not? Now, if I asked you to really deep dive into what was wrong there, it's quite difficult, but you probably saw that it didn't really look like a complete finish. I wasn't in balance. The golf club didn't look like it was flowing. That is something I see all too often. What I really want you to do on the golf course is commit to your shot. When you're over that ball, this is not the time to be thinking about your golf swing. It's the time to be focusing on your target and being 100% committed. And that means having a free flowing swing and really focusing on where you want to be at the end of your drive. On that previous shot, you can see that it was very curtailed this way, too much tension through my hands and arms. So I'm picking a target on this hole based on my shot pattern, based on what I'm like with the driver, based on where the trouble is. So that target should help me make a golf swing and hit maybe not the perfect shot and still be okay. That's going to give me a lot of confidence. So for me, I've got something right in the distance. There's a little tree. I've got that as my target. I know that's where I need to be aiming. I'm not going to be holding on to it. I'm not going to be trying to guide it. I'm not going to be trying to push it down the fairway. I'm going to be going 100% committed, thinking about where I want to be at the end, and that club is going to move around my body much more freely. What creates curve on the golf ball? It's when we get a disagreement between where the club face points and where the club travels. So if my club face was pointing at you, yet the club was traveling across to the left of the camera, as I look at it, that would create curve. Golfers will take the time to aim or align the club face. So my club face is now perfectly aligned to the bunker right through the fairway. That's where my club face is pointing. But then what they'll do is they'll have the upper body aligned well to the left of that. A lot of that is because the ball is further forward, we have to reach onto it. So now we have the club face pointing at the bunker, yet my path is going to be very much influenced by my body. So now I'm going to likely have a path which is to the left, the club face which is more to the right of that. I'm going to get huge amounts of left to right curve because I mismatch my body aim with the club face aim. So here's what I'd love you to do. I'm going to take an alignment stick, you can use a golf club, and I'm just going to use that to reference my target line. So we're going down towards that bunker. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this from a standing up position. I'm going to put my lead hand on. Now I can see that club face is nice and vertical and it's perfectly neutral. Now, how do I place the trail hand on? Well, I can go over the top of the golf club and place it on. That's going to get this shoulder high. Or I can come from underneath the golf club and that's going to put this shoulder lower. I want to feel like I'm approaching this golf club from underneath the club shaft, not above the club shaft. And then what I can do is when I place the club on the ground and I've got it in my trail hand, again, how am I approaching this golf club? I want to approach it from this side of the alignment stick, not that side of the alignment stick. So golfers will often reach from over here, trail shoulder gets high. Now we've got a huge mismatch between where the body's aligned and where the face is aligned. And if I make contact with this golf ball now and my club face points at that bunker, that is not where the ball's going to go because my path is going to create all of that curve. So we're going to go trail hand. I'm going to go from underneath the golf club, from behind the alignment stick. And when I do that look, my shoulders start to form more into alignment with the alignment stick on the ground. They marry up with the club face. So when I swing now, I'm more likely to have a neutral path, which matches my face, and we get straighter shots. This is a biggie. This is one of the most common faults of the driver. It costs people distance, it costs them direction. We need to fix it. Very often, we get to golfers into a really good position here, but the first movement is too much out towards the golf ball with the hands, with the club. And it's often this idea of maybe, let's get the club to the ball as quick as we can. What is the shortest distance in 2 points? It's a straight line, but the straight line isn't always the fastest. I've used this little illustration before, but have a look. The straightest line is the shortest distance, but it's not the fastest. This is what we need to do. We need to change how you transition from backswing to downswing. And the best way to really understand this is to really grasp what is controlling the movement of the club. Think about where the club starts. It starts obviously behind the ball. Got to get back there. That's where the ball is. But where is it at the top? Well, it's kind of into the air and it's behind me relative to where it started. So it's got to go out to the ball and down to the ground or near to the ground. What is responsible for those movements? Well, the hands and arms are responsible for the down part. Look how easy it is for me to get the club to the ground with just my arms. So the arms put it in the down, the body gives us the out. And when we put them together, the club gets back to impact. So what often happens is we get to the top. What do we use first? We use body, which gives us the out, and then we use arms, which give us the down. We need to flip it. I want you to be going arms down, then body out. So the rehearsal I'm doing now is what I'd love you to do. Arms down, body out. And then when I hit a shot, I'm simply trying to do that. I'm trying to use my arms to send the club down, and my body to move the club out.